So this past Tuesday, I guess I gotta do it. O-H-I. Oh, Ohio. Hey, Ohio. You know, per norm now in contemporary modern American politics, the Republican Party tried to do something that was completely and woefully undemocratic. Go figure, shocking. Seems like that's the normal course bar for the week. See how many undemocratic things we can do and still try to make the claim that we're a democracy. You know, we're constantly meandering around the edges of undemocratic principles because you have a bunch of very wealthy, affluent Americans who are hell-bent on wanting to subjugate and control what we the people do with our bodies. Yeah, that's all this boils down to. Wealthy, affluent, white, conservative, mostly men, but some women too, want to dictate what we can do with our bodies. They think they know what's best for us. Well, I always have to tell them, you don't. And the voters sometimes have to tell them, in the case, that you don't know what's best for us. We know what's best for us. Yeah, we know what's best for us. We don't need you and your millions of dollars trying to program and tell us what we can do with our bodies. You didn't birth us, and we certainly don't want to have anything to do with you. Yeah. Anywho, Ohio voters sent a strong message on Tuesday that they don't like this undemocratic shit that the Republican Party seems to be on nowadays. You know, Proposition 1. Folks were really explicitly trying to get people to vote yes and no for it. Let me explain to you what it was. Proposition 1 was a proposition to amend the Ohio State Constitution. You know, in order to have an amendment to the Constitution, all you needed was a simple majority. Well, this proposition, had it passed, you would have needed a 60% threshold to amend the Constitution. Now, why is that important? Well, a simple majority, you win an election by a simple majority. You don't need a 60% threshold to be an elected official. So why should you need a 60% majority? The citizenry, why should the citizenry have an undue burden placed on them to amend their state constitution when elected officials don't have that burden placed on them? Now, if they had been fair and democratic, they would have said, well, let's amend the Constitution to say that if you're going to put an undue burden on the citizenry, let's also apply it to our elected officials as well. Then I would have said, okay, I would have looked at the principle of it and said whether it's democratic or undemocratic or not. But this was strictly a burden on the citizenry. It wasn't a burden on the elected officials. Because the individuals who were trying to buy off democracy, get rid of it, they're more concerned about you, the people, we the people, than they are the public officials. They can buy them off. But they don't have enough money to buy you all off. Not all of us individually, no. So they wanted to raise the threshold to amend the state constitution, Ohio, to 60%, which is crazy. It's just ridiculous, preposterous, completely undemocratic. Then, in order for you to even amend the Constitution, you know, you only needed 44 counties. Yeah, a certain percentage from 44 counties. They wanted to up that to 88 counties, all of Ohio. They wanted to say even in areas you know you're not going to get signatures and support from, concerning certain issues that you had to have a higher threshold to get support there in counties that are completely conservative and Republican. Meaning they don't ever want the Constitution to be amended by the people, potentially. This is what they were trying to con over on the Ohio citizenry. Also in Proposition 1 was you have a 10-day window. Say your signatures to amend, there's problems with them. You have a 10-day what they call cure procedure, where you can go back to the voter if there's a problem with their signature, and you can have them redo their signature. Maybe the machine can't scan it, maybe it's not clear, their handwriting, maybe there's a mismatch between their signature now and what's on their ID. So you had a 10-day grace period called a cure, where you could cure these ballots and cure the signature issues. You could go and correct it. They wanted to do away with that in Proposition 1. All of these things are completely and woefully undemocratic. So there were interest groups on both sides that funded for folks to either vote yes or no. Now, I find this telling. Whenever Republicans and conservatives, they lose, they start blaming outside entities, outside groups. They're like, George Soros spent money. I don't know whether he did or didn't. Hey, but were there any outside Republican mega donors that spent money? Because the Susan B. Anthony's list was like, we lost because of the outside liberal groups that spent money. They don't even live in Ohio. Dick Uihlein and Liz Uihlein, who are billionaire conservative donors, extreme far-right conservative owners, they look quite unsuspecting. You would never know these two individuals are racist to their core, but they are. Dick Uihlein spent over $1 million to have people in support of Proposition 1. Susan B. Anthony's list, you gotta tell folks, that's a shame they're using Susan B. Anthony's name. She was a great abolitionist, Quaker. The folks associated with Susan B. Anthony's list, those folks are conservative, so don't fall for the con. They're using her name, but people can use your name and likeness once you're no longer here. They don't stand for the values that she stood for. Because when she was 17, she collected hundreds of thousands of signatures to abolish slavery. Yeah, the largest collection of signatures ever in the history of this country up until that time period. When she was 17, think about that. She's a teenage young white woman. She collected over 400,000 signatures to abolish slavery. Yeah, it was unprecedented at that time. To this day, it's still kind of unprecedented. So for them to use her name and likeness when they don't represent anything that she stood for, another element of the conservative movement, emphasis on con, because that's all they're really about, is conning Americans. Now, if you have a problem with George Soros, you're going to have to start talking about Dick and Liz Uihlein. They spend millions and millions of dollars backing all types of far-right Republican candidates. Roy Moore, you remember the pedophile in Alabama who ran for Senate? Roy Moore, they gave him millions of dollars. Dick and Liz Uihlein, they lost. You lost. I did the happy dance when I found out Dick lost. I said, oh my goodness. And Dick has a problem. His whole thing is about subjugating and controlling women. He doesn't like feminism. He doesn't like women's liberation. And so what he goes around doing is finding ultra-right conservative white men to try to tell women, you're not going to do what you want to do with your body if I'm elected. So anytime that old, crusty, racist, bigoted, misogynistic Dick Uihlein loses, His happy days are here again. I just wanted to rub it in shortly and quickly. They got their ass trounced. It wasn't even close. It was like 60-30 no. 60-30 no to yes. Yeah, it wasn't even close. It was 2-1. I said we blew them out of the water. Yeah. And you all, Dick and Liz Uline, they own the Uline in the company. You might want to look into that. There's a large packaging company that they own, you know. I have no problem with that. They started off fair and square in the basement of their apartment, you know. But they don't share our values. And I'm glad anytime people who don't share our values, they lose. I'm happy about that. Because if we had a loss, they would have been happy the other way around. This is good. This is the way it's supposed to be. You can advocate for whatever you want. That's fair in a democracy. So I have no problem with them advocating for what they want. I just want to tell you what it is. It's about complete subjugation and control of women's ovaries and their uterus. And women in Ohio said, hell no, we're not going for that. And they turned out in record numbers and they voted that shit down. 60-30. Yeah. So Dick, you lost. Yeah, he lost. Boy, I'm telling you, it was good news. It was great news. Anytime Dick loses, I'm happy. Because you all know these billionaires, it's all about control with them. The money doesn't do them anything. They want to control and subjugate us. They see us as some type of commodity that they can manipulate. And when we don't go along with their whimsical, bullshit, old world, kind of crusty, stale, worn out philosophies, then they get, well, mad and upset. Yeah. Rightfully so. Hey, they lost. They got their ass trounced. Thank you, Ohio. No, Ohio is a Republican, pretty red state, but it didn't used to be that way. Ohio used to be purple, so hopefully it comes back around to reality. Yeah. Ohio is competitive. There's a lot of folks in Ohio that really don't bump that extremism Republican shit, but you know, a lot of people got sucked into whatever that cancerous situation was with Donald Trump, sadly. They got suckered into that. But in this sense, women came out and they said, we're not going to have you controlling our bodies. And now this amendment, reproductive care, is going to be on the ballot in November. Yeah, November 2024. Women will have a right to choose what they will do with their bodies. They don't want Dick making determinations for them. They don't want Dick and Liz Uline, who look so unsuspecting. I swear they look so unsuspecting. You wouldn't know that they're racist to their core, but they are. That's the little game they play to you all in the public. Oh, we're just this quaincy, folksy, white couple. Oh no. These two are monsters. They're racist to their core. Out in Illinois too. Every candidate that they back for governor, they get their ass trounced in Illinois because Chicago, shout out to the city, the Windy City, the land of Lincoln, yeah, Obama country. We know folks like Dick Uline and Liz Uline. We know folks like that. We know that they don't mean well for the city. Yeah, we know that very much so. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of rub it in their faces that those clowns, you lost. You tried to buy Ohio. Then you got butthurt that other people came in and spent money too. Tell the whole story, Susan B. Anthony's list. Be fair. large Republican mega donors came in and spent millions of dollars to get folks to come out and vote yes. Large Democrat mega donors spent millions of dollars to try to get out folks to vote no. Ultimately, young women do not want to be subjugated by crusty old billionaire conservative men like Dick Uihlein. You know what went before in the past, what women stood for in the past? Those days are gone. Yeah, they're gone. You're not going to put that genie back in the bottle. Yeah. They said, bands off my body. Yeah. Don't tell folks what to do with their bodies. You know, they have a problem with transgender people. They really do. They have a problem with everybody that isn't like them. That's the real, in essence, what it is with folks like Dick and Liz Uihlein. If you don't conform to what we want you to do, because we think we know what's best for you. And newsflash, you've never known what's best for us. We the people know what's best for us. And Dick, you got your ass kicked. And you're going to keep getting your ass kicked. All these candidates that you keep supporting, giving millions of dollars to, please keep on giving it. Because they don't fare too well. He gave a candidate in Illinois a lot of money. And yeah, did you all remember the ad? They put this actor on there that was supposed to be, I guess, transgender, and the actor went, they want me to go into your daughter's bathroom. And the reporters were like, you know, that's offensive, because that's not necessarily a fair representation of all transgender people. And the candidate, she was like, well, that is what I think is I was thinking to myself, bitch, you don't know any transgender people. So in your mind, anything is accurate. But you don't know any transgender people. You have a phobia, but you've never experienced or analyzed why you have the phobia. Just like Dick and Liz. So you did a good job. Come out again in November and kick their ass one more time. Thank you, Ohio. Good job. Great job.